Welcome, my name is Mark Pillar. I'm the founder of CloudPuncher. In this video, I would like to give you an overview of this exciting new service we built. If you are new to CloudPuncher, you might be asking, what is CloudPuncher? In short, it is a load testing and performance analysis service. Let me tell you what makes CloudPuncher different. First of all, it is an online self-serve service where you have full power and control over everything the service has to offer. This includes recording and customization of your load tests, configuring and running test scenarios, analyzing test results, and most importantly, solving performance problems. On top of this, CloudPuncher provides the following features. 1. Scriptless test recording. CloudPuncher offers a visual environment for test recording and editing. Therefore, you do not need to learn any new scripting languages, IDEs, or frameworks. 2. Load testing of Flash and Flex applications. In addition to the traditional sites and online apps, CloudPuncher can easily simulate Flash and Flex clients in a load test environment. 3. Server-side monitoring. We provide special software for instrumentation of the server-side components while a load test is running. 4. Scalability. In order to test if your application or website scales and performs well under load, the testing software must be scalable as well. CloudPuncher can create tests with as few as one or as many as a million concurrent users. 5. Analytics. One of the most powerful features of the service is the Analytics tool, which helps you pinpointing performance problems. 6. Cost control. CloudPuncher is designed so you can easily estimate the cost before running your tests to better control your budget. Plus, there are many more features we cannot fit in a single slide, so let's dig into the product and see how it works. CloudPuncher is available at cloudpuncher.com. The website is right there. You can go and visit it. I will not spend any time going around this website in the overview. You can register just by filling out a very simple form. Once you log in, you will see a list of all the tests you have recorded. When you're just getting started, you will not see any tests, so you can create your first one. For any test you have recorded, you can easily go and edit or run this test. You can see the contents of this test, meaning all the requests that a particular test will execute. You can also estimate cost of the test right here. Or you can see the launch history, meaning all the previous executions of this test you have done. Let's go and open a test in a test editor. This is the test manager. This is the primary interface for working with CloudPuncher. You will see a list of all the load tests you have recorded. Load test consists of a set of workflows and a set of scenarios. A workflow and scenario are two key concepts in CloudPuncher. Let's talk about workflows. A workflow essentially is a recording of your test. From the CloudPuncher perspective, it is a path that your users will take through your website or application. Your website or application may have different types of users. You could have guests, registered users, administrators, and those different types of users will be going through different navigation paths. So when you record a test, you'll be recording different workflows. You'll be recording a path that a guest will take, which will be different than a path that administrator will take. As a result, when the recording is created, you will end up with a different set of requests that the browser makes when it uses your application. So in this case, I have only one workflow, and it consists of, in this case, 4 different requests. So to create a realistic test case, you'll be recording multiple workflows. And in a minute, I'll show you how to mix those workflows in a single load test. Now that you have seen workflows, let me talk about scenarios. A scenario is a set of configuration parameters which determine how a load test is going to be executed. First and foremost, there is a termination condition. This parameter determines at what point the load test will stop running. One of the conditions is a fixed duration. In this case, you can configure the test to run anywhere between 1 minute all the way to 100 hours. Other termination conditions include returning an error. In this case, the test can run indefinitely until the server returns an error. Next step is very important as well. It is the client allocation. In this case, you can configure how CloudPuncher will be allocating new virtual users throughout the duration of your test. There are several profiles to choose from. The first and the default is the step ladder. In this case, you can say that the test will start with, for example, 10 virtual users, and then every 5 minutes you can add additional 100 users. And in this case, your load test will be ramping up from 10 users all the way to almost 2,000 users. And you can easily change the interval duration to make the test to be less aggressive. The next profile is intervals. In this case, the test can change from two different fixed counts of users. There is a low count, which is how many users the test will be running with at the low count. In this case, we can set it, for example, to 20. And there is a high client count. We can set it to 200. And for each of these counts, there is an interval. So, for example, you can say that at the low count, the test will continue on for 20 minutes, and at the high count, it can continue at 5 minutes. Finally, the third profile for client allocation is user-defined. And in this case, you get a chart that you can play with simply by dragging the points in the chart to specify how new virtual clients should be allocated by CloudPuncher. In this case, in this particular chart, the test will start with 5 users. It will ramp up over the next 18 minutes to 15 users. Will stay almost flat, kind of going down a little bit to 14 users, and will ramp up to 20, and will go down again. And you can drag these guys anywhere to change the client allocation. You can even add new points just by clicking the control button and clicking in the chart and then moving them around. You can adjust the scale of the y-axis by specifying a new value right here. The scale has changed, so you can reorder these charts and you get a nice idea. So this is the most flexible way of configuring cloud allocation. The next step of scenario configuration is called test composition. Now that scenario contains information about how the clients should be allocated, those clients could really do different things. For example, if your test contains more than one workflow, it would be important to specify how many of the allocated clients execute a particular workflow. In this particular case on the screen, you see that there are two recorded workflows. One is called basic login, and the other is called admin login. So for instance, if we want 20% of the clients to execute basic login, you can easily do this just by playing with these sliders, and the pie chart automatically shows how many clients would be executing a particular workflow. And you can play with this easily, adjusting the percentages. The same thing is true for the browser types. As CloudPuncher allocates virtual users, those users will simulate real browsers accessing your website or application. So if you want to split the percentages between different browser types as they would be represented by CloudPuncher clients, you can do that by playing with these sliders. As you can see, these sliders automatically change for all of them. So if you want to lock one of them at a certain level, just click the lock and that one will stay fixed and all the other ones will change. The final step of the scenario configuration is monitoring. This step is used to configure server-side monitors, which will automatically gather all the information about the server-side infrastructure while a load test is being executed. I'm going to skip this configuration step for now, and it will be reviewed in a separate video. So for now, let's click Finish, and CloudPuncher will show the summary of the configured test, so you can quickly review everything you have configured. At this point, the scenario is ready to be launched. In order to run the scenario, you can click the Run Scenario button. At that point, CloudPuncher checks whether the domains or the hosts which will be targeted in that particular test have been approved, and I'll talk about it in another video. Also, it verifies the payment information, gives you an estimated cost, and optionally you can select these checkboxes to be notified when the test execution is complete and when the final report is ready. And pressing this launch button will essentially start the test. Computers will be allocated in the cloud and will start executing the scenario exactly accordingly to the configuration settings you have specified. I will skip this step and I will proceed to the actual report you will get once the test is executed. Once CloudPuncher completes the execution of your test, a report is generated and it can be accessed by going to the scenario which you ran. And if you expand that node, you will see the reports node with a list of all the reports, each report corresponding to a particular execution of your test. By clicking this node, CloudPuncher Test Manager opens up the actual report, which provides a lot of information. Let me give you a quick overview of what kind of information you can actually get once the test completes the execution. So first of all the data that we accumulate during the execution can be sorted by different categories. In this case, this view shows grouping by the URL. These are all the URLs which were included in the execution of your test, meaning the URLs from the workflows that the test contains. For each URL, there are different parameters that you can get in the report, specifically average response time, maximum response time, minimum response time, request count, and so on. Also, you can group the results by content type. So these are the content types that were included in your test. As you can see here, this content type for fetching CSS style sheet, HTML page, and this was Flex remoting invocation. There's also one unknown type, meaning that the document that was fetched from the server did not have a content type. And once again, similar information is available for each of these content types. Additionally, you can get the report by response code. These were the response code detected during the test, and for each of these, you can get this information. And in a second, I'll show you how this information is actually rendered. And finally, if your test included remoting invocations from Flash or Flex clients, grouping by method or by destination. So in this case, if I group by method, this was the method invocation on this particular class, and once again, similar data is available. Before we go into this, let me switch to something like content type and show you what kind of information is presented in the chart. So in the chart, without any of the selections in this section, you get information about average response time throughout the test for all clients which were allocated, number of clients, in this case this blue line represents the number of clients allocated by CloudPuncher, average response time, request count, and error count are the other lines in the chart. So you can correlate average response time for all requests for all clients rendered in a single chart. You can easily turn these metrics on or off, and also turn this guy off. And at this time we have just the number of clients. So for instance, you want to see average response time for all HTML pages. In this case, simply click this checkbox and the information is loaded, and in this case the red line shows average response time strictly for HTML pages. If you want to add on top of this average response time for all AMF invocations, simply click this checkbox, and now this green line shows the average response time in addition to the response time for the HTML. And you can play with it with any of these parameters, and every single checkbox brings a separate chart which can be rendered in that particular report. Similarly, if you were to switch to different groupings and were to select something like response code, so let's say for all the 200s, which is meaning that requests were executed successfully, you can get the response time for all the requests which had successful execution and see what the response time was for that. If it is an AMF invocation, Flash or Flex remoting, you can also see at the method invocation level response time, number of failed requests, error count, and so on. I hope this gives you a good idea about CloudPuncher and its features. Be sure to watch other videos published in the CloudPuncher YouTube channel, and I hope you will sign up and register and try out the product.